Hi, everyone.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to this webinar where we will talk about how to create automation apps with ETABS and SAP. And yeah, we're super happy that you're here. We already see that a lot of people are joining live. More than 200 people are live. Yeah, it's a great pleasure to be here together with you and to share our experiences. My name is Ananda. I have a decade of experience in structural engineering and in engineering automation. And yeah, I'm part of this wonderful team called VIKTOR. And at VIKTOR, we really specialize on engineering automation. Yeah, we help all kind of companies across the globe with this. We have a product for that too. And we do that for all kind of objects. You know, we have been doing that for buildings, for dike reinforcements, foundations, tunnels, foundations of windmills, you name it. We have done a lot of stuff. And lately, we have been involved in the Belt tunnel, for example, which is the longest submerged tunnel in the world that will connect Germany to Denmark. And the team of Covey made an app using VIKTOR to fully automate the structural design of the tunnel. So there are a lot of interesting cases. But yeah, of course, we would love to share that experience with you in this webinar. That's the whole reason we are organizing it. And of course, you have noticed that there's someone next to me. This is Jannes. How are you, Jannes?
Good, good. How are you?
Yeah, we're excited that we have this webinar.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, Jannes is also a structural engineer with a decade of experience in structural engineering. And he is definitely ETABS super user. So he will be sharing a lot of his experiences. But maybe you can tell us, Jannes, what's your experience with structural engineering and automation in general?
Yeah. So thanks, Ananda, for the quick introduction. Like Ananda said, my name is Jannes, and I've recently joined VIKTOR. Before that, I worked in New Zealand for nearly a decade as a structural engineer. I worked mainly on commercial and residential buildings, but I was also quite heavily involved with building designs and internal verifications of different structural analysis models. So yeah, that's how I was kind of overlapped with ETABS. And I must say, this morning when I went through the list of attendees of this webinar, it was really nice to see a lot of ex-colleagues on the list so that have signed up. And hopefully you guys are not staying awake, but you're going to watch the recording later.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for the introduction, Jannes. So let me show you our screen. Yeah, so today we will be talking about structural engineering and automation in general. So a short introduction about that. It shall not take more than 5 minutes. After that, of course, the main dish is ETABS and SAP automation. And Jannes has prepared some nice examples for you. Then I will give a short introduction to VIKTOR. VIKTOR is the tool Jannes used to create those automation tools, those automation apps. And then I want to close the webinar with a real case example, an app made by a customer of us. And it's a really, really nice app that I love showing always because they have automated everything from the beginning of the process to the end. And they use it daily on all kinds of projects. I think it's a really interesting source of inspiration for all of us. And after that, of course, we want to give you some tips and tricks on how you can start yourself automating stuff. So yeah, that's the menu for today. That's the planning. And of course, if you have any questions during the webinar, just ask. I will get them here on my screen. We will try to reply them immediately. But if we notice that we are short of time, we will keep them for the end, and we will try to reply them at the end of the webinar. So if you ask something and you didn't get a reply immediately, don't worry, we will reach out or we will reply to that question later. So please keep asking questions also during the webinar. Yeah, and feel free, of course, to ask anything you want. We will try to answer to that. So yeah, structural engineering, Jannes. We were looking at structural engineering, and I said we have kind of different experiences. Jannes mostly in buildings. I have more experience in infrastructure and also in the offshore industry. But yeah, we got to the conclusion that if you zoom out a bit, the process is kind of always the same. Of course, different for each object you make, but in a general sense, it's the same. And it always starts with some kind of data collection. So which regulations should you use? What are the load cases? What are the loads? Some kind of geometry of design, of drawing, of 3D model you get, you name it. All kind of input you need, and you process that data to make it useful for your specific situation. And with that, you build some kind of finite element model, which could be an ETABS SAP or other softwares. And with that finite element model, you do your calculations. You often export results from that finite element model, and you put that in some kind of Excel sheet of Python script of whatever, and you do some post-processing. It could be just to check do the unity checks, or to evaluate different load combinations, or to do some other more advanced post-processing, like calculating welds of connections, of rebars, of that kind of stuff. But you actually see in practice, of course, that this is not like one step. So you keep iterating between those two things until you find the solution that fulfills the requirements, and then you go to reporting. And reporting is, it could be an Excel sheet, it could be a mail, it could be a full structural engineering report. But at the end, you translate your findings to something other people can understand, and you share that with your colleagues, of your client. I don't know you, Janus, but at me, it never happened in my life that it was one straight line. Something changes always.
Never. I agree. Indeed, one party changes something, and you have to go through the process all over again. It doesn't happen just like 1 or 2 times, but probably like 5 to 10. And you get really annoyed of it. You can't escape it.
Yeah, so typical stuff that changes. Not so someone you have different foundation, different spring stiffnesses for your building, or someone decides to increase the loads, or put a higher air conditioning system, and you have to adapt it, or make the bridge a bit longer because whatever reason, of the tunnel wider. There's always a change, and then you have to start kind of all over again. And sometimes it's can be quite boring and annoying to have to go through the whole process again. But that's part of the work we do. But luckily also, there's between 20 to 80% of this work that can be automated, depending on your situation. And that's the knowledge we have been building up in those years, and that's the thing we want to share with you. So there's a lot to win there too. So it's a big opportunity for automation in structural engineering. I'm wondering, so maybe you can tell us in the comments, for example, are you already making some kind of tool? So are you maybe creating your own Excel sheets for post-processing or pre-processing? Of do you have some Python scripts? Of do you do something in Grasshopper or Dynamo, of C#, of, I don't know. Are you making some kind of tools to automate a part of your process? Leave us a comment, and maybe you can say like the tool you use and what kind of stuff you are doing. And we will use that information later in the webinar to react to that and come back to that. I see here already some comments. So Alan, thank you for sharing. He's using CSI products. So there's more a question here. So can it be applied to RAM concept? Yeah, it can be. So soon, RAM concept, I understand from CSI that they will have an API and that you can do it too. So you can automate all kind of stuff there. So please share in the comments what you're doing at the moment, and we can react to that. People here is also saying they're creating stuff in Excel with macros for ETABS and stat. So that's also a thing we see very often. Someone else using Excel. Excel is king, of course. A lot of people are using Excel. Timo saying that he's creating a lot of scripts with Python. So thanks for sharing your experience. Keep sharing your experience. In the meantime, we will continue. I want to share our experience with the tools. So what we have seen, and we have been working with many of the large engineering and construction firms in the world, is that, of course, we structural engineers, we are creating a lot of those tools because we are smart enough to automate those things, and we are creating stuff in Excel and Python and Grasshopper, Dynamo. And they definitely have a very good impact on the things we do as an individual and on the projects we work on. And if you will place those tools in a graph, and the axis of that graph will be at the lower side automation, so the level of automation those tools can reach, and the other side, how friendly they're to be used or how many people use it. And we have noticed that you will see something like that. It's kind of scattered. So at one side, you see maybe tools that are very advanced, that can automate a lot, but they also tend to be the more complicated tools now. So it could be a very big Python script of a very complicated spaghetti monster in Grasshopper. And the other side, you have tools that are very easy to use. It could be a very simple Excel sheet to calculate maybe bending stress of a beam, just to give an example. They're very simple to use, but yeah, they don't add that much value because they don't automate a lot. So people could say, yeah, but I will make that myself. There's no need to use that tool. And what you really want to do is actually bring those tools to this region. So to a region that they automate a lot and that they are used a lot by a lot of colleagues inside your company. And in that way, that tool will generate a lot of impact for you as a team, not you as an individual, you as a team, as a company, so you can have a bigger impact on your projects and on your company. And that's the thing we help with. So VIKTOR as a company, our mission is to empower all engineers to create and share apps with their colleagues, with clients, that automate the workflows easily. And the way we do that, very briefly, is by enabling engineers to create user-friendly web applications. So you can make these web applications that have sliders, buttons, and have nice visualization so everyone can use them. You can make those apps with no code. So you can create the interface with drag and drop, and we have other tools. And you can build it with Python and fully customize this also with Python. And at the same time, of course, we know that every one of you, and probably most of you, are using ETABS or SAP because you're in this webinar. So you can also connect those apps with different software packages. And in that way, you can automate your processes. So yeah, that's VIKTOR in a nutshell. And yeah, I have a next question. I think, yeah, a lot of people already kind of replied to it. In the first question.
We like the interaction.
Yeah, it's great. We already see a lot of reactions. So thank you. So I am wondering how many of you use Python at the moment. So I see a lot of people using Excel and all kind of tools. Maybe you can drop us a small comment. Yes, I use Python. Maybe you can say a little bit about your experience and how you use it. So please let us know. And then we kind of have a feeling about how many people use Python at the moment. But yeah, that brings us to the main dish of today, which is ETABS and SAP. That's, of course, the reason all of you are here. And I'd like to give it over to Yanis.
Yeah, thanks, Ananda. And yeah, let's talk about ETABS and SAP, and that's why everyone is here today, right? ETABS and SAP2000 can do a lot of things natively already. People are typically pretty competent in the software already, but yet there's still a lot of challenges that you encounter during your workflow. So for example, your ETABS models, they constantly evolve during design. You have preliminary design stage, concept design stage, develop design, and detailed design stage. So yeah, there's new information coming in, ETABS is evolving, and that has like cascading effects done on calculations done outside of ETABS, such, for example, like foundations or steel connections or potentially wall reinforcement if you need to design it. And each time you do that, you need to update your calculations so the numbers obtained from ETABS match the numbers in calculations. And you do that, I would say, at least 3 times, or not, if not even more. For example, you do it for your design, internal verification, but also when you have to do the peer review as well. You have to always update your calculations. If we potentially go to the next slide, what we're going to show today is 3 number of apps. So we're going to show the foundation path designer, connection designer, and a truss parameterization app. With the first 2 apps, we're going to show you how to simply use an existing Excel output from ETABS. So you wouldn't need to run an ETABS at the moment. You would just simply export the results. And with the third app, what we're going to show you is we're going to have a VIKTOR app, model the truss, send it to the ETABS, run the model, and retrieve the results back. And with the first two,
sorry,
all good. So as you can see, you can have so many checks built with ETABS and with pre-processing or post-processing. And you can chain those applications together as well if you want with a single source of export, which means you can pretty much kill not just two birds with one stone, but any amount of birds that you want. So which is just like mind-blowing, you know. Everyone's hair should go like this, like mine. Whoa, this is cool, right? So with the first app that we're gonna demonstrate today, Foundation Path Designer, we're also gonna give you a quick demo how to build an app. And we can probably kick off with my part of the presentation on the screen that I'm gonna be demoing on the side. So as you can see here, I've built a pretty simple ETABS model here. I've got a 6-story building. It's a 2-way moment frame in both directions. We have primary beams and then some secondary beams spanning onto the primary beams, picking up the gravity load. And this is pretty much the structure of our building. I'm pretty sure everyone knows how to export all the results from ETABS. The way you export it, you typically go to Display, Show Tables. You tick all of these items here, and then you click OK. It takes a bit of time to populate these tables with ETABS, just because there's quite a few tables to populate. And what I can show you on the side as well is how does this Excel table look like when you export it? Looks like this. You get, I don't know, thousands of sheets at the bottom, just like data all over the place. It's nicely structured, and you can use this data with our VIKTOR applications or applications that you built with Python. So this is what we do. And then in our first app, what I would like to achieve is, with the Foundation Path Designer, I would like to look at my base reactions and see where those hot spots are and design foundation paths for it. We all know how to show the base reactions for particular load combinations, for example. So this is pretty much in this tabular view here with values in here. But that doesn't give us a quick indication what we're seeing here. What are we going to jump on to next is...
I can imagine this is like a quite small building. I can imagine if you're designing like an airport or like big warehouse, then this data is like, you have so many numbers, there's no way to get like a big view in what's happening here. So
yeah, you always have to export the data, post-process it in some form of way that you can easily analyze it and visualize it for yourself. So what we're going to achieve with this first app is we're going to design foundation like this. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to code this with VIKTOR. I'm going to jump into Visual Studio Code, which is the Python code. Don't get scared. It's very easy and intuitive. And what you're going to be able to do is you could leave a comment later on, and we're going to come back to you with the full code that you're going to be able just to copy paste into your environment, run it, and you're going to have this app built. I reckon it's going to take maybe 5 minutes to start running the app with the tutorial. So we're going to slowly build an app, and then to have an app, you can see we only have like 16 lines of code, and that's already running an empty app like this. So I'm going to reload it, and you see that currently we just have nothing in here. What I would like us to do is we're going to go in here and add a few fields to it. So for example, like an upload file and adding a bearing capacity of the soil. So I'll show you how easy it is. And then this left-hand side is for our inputs, and this right-hand side is for our outputs. This is how it's divided in the app as well. Under this class parameterization, we can just simply add like Excel file equals to VKT file field. And let's name this step 1, upload file. And then let's add another line, bearing capacity equals to t.number field. Step 2, bearing capacity. And that should be a number. We're going to define a slider. Let's define as units as well, which should be kPa, and the min and max values 50 kPa, and max, let's put it to 300 kPa, and a default value of let's say 150. We save that, and once we reload, here we have upload file and a bearing capacity slider straight away. Now you could see like how easy it was to just adding new fields that you would like to have it in your app present. I'll simply copy paste the whole code across, which you're also going to be able to get later on. And once you save that, run it, you're able to refresh the page, reload it, and run the app. So over here now we have uploaded file. This is the same file, bear in mind, that we previously exported from Excel, from ETABS. And we're also going to use it later in another app as well. So we upload that. The app automatically recognizes which load combinations were exported from ETABS. Let's choose this one, 1.2G plus 1.5 live, and then show base reaction heat map. The app takes a few seconds, and you can see straight away which locations should be the hotspots, right?
Yeah, it's much easier to see than all those numbers, definitely.
It's way easier, right? And then if you can see these numbers like 4011 matches the value in here, 4011 kilonewtons. So yeah, that's a really nice visual representation of our base reactions. And if we take it a step further, we can also design pad foundations, for example, with a separate view. Here we go. We have different pad foundations designed straight from those numbers as well. And what we can do, let's increase the bearing capacity to 300 kPa, which means that our pads should get smaller, right? Because we have more capacity. And then you see our pads actually got smaller. So to actually calculate the bearing, to populate this view with additional foundation pads, it only took us like additional 20 lines of code that you can see here. So that's really not much for anyone who's kind of familiar with Python as well. You can tell that is not much. And obviously, this whole code will be shared with you guys to simply start as well.
Yeah, and we have already some positive reactions. So people are saying that it's amazing, it's very cool. And especially this Alejandro is posting. He's away.
Yes.
Yeah, so Alejandro helped us a lot in building those examples. So a big shout out to him for helping us with this.
Indeed. Yeah.
Thank you a lot.
That was really your Alejandro's help is greatly appreciated on these apps and putting the ideas into realization.
So people are asking Afsham, I hope it's said properly, is asking if we will share the recording. We will. So we will definitely. So we will send everyone that registered to the webinar an email. So if you register it, we'll send an email with recording and some extra stuff. So yeah, if you know of people that want to watch this later, ask them to register, and they will get a mail too. So we will keep the registrations open until maybe the end of the week or something like that. So you still have time for that. Yeah, so a lot of positive reactions about your app.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we move to the next one, perhaps?
Yeah.
To the connection designer.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So we have the second app, not?
Second app, connection designer, correct. So I should perhaps take over again as well. And I'm going to explain to you what the connection designer does.
Yeah.
So if I go back to my ETABS model, we have this building, which is a steel structural building. We have steel columns, primary beams, and the secondary beams. All these elements require a connection design as well. What we've done is we have populated some capacity tables for different sizes of columns and beams for typical sections. For example, I have just done it for a few different members based on its section capacities. And for example, for moment end plate, I have provided capacities for 70% moment and 35% shear. And similar, I've done for web cleats, just for shear, and for base plates as well, for axial load and the shear load as well.
Oh, funny, because I've worked a lot on the offshore industry, and then also they have like the same system. They have like DNV, which is like a certification agency for mostly offshore structures.
Yeah.
They have exactly the same method. So they have all kind of standard connections, and depending on the loading and the beam, you can kind of choose a connection. And yeah,
correct. Yeah.
You try, of course, to get as most as that standard connection, because then the certification is easier and it's less work. And then only for the custom ones, you kind of do something different.
Indeed, it's really valuable to have all these standardizations in place, just because you avoid so many mistakes later on down the track. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the same exported file that we used before, so export.xls. And in the next step, we're going to define a calculation mode. What I want to do in this particular case is I want to do a connection check for predefined, for targeted capacities. We can also do a connection design in this app, which means it chooses the most optimum one out of the whole library. In step 3, what I would like to show you is I assign different connection types to the groups that are defined within ETABS. For example, for primary beams, I choose a moment end plate connection, define a color, and the capacity that I want to evaluate the model for. Similar I do for other groups, like for example, secondary beams, which should be connected with the web cleat. And let's add a new one, which is the remaining one is the base columns. So we need a base plate connection for that. Let's assign a purple color for this one, and a connection capacity of 30%.
Yeah, so here it's also nice to see that now you're using like more VIKTOR components, no? So all these color fields and drop downs, they're all kind of out of the shell components you have to create in VIKTOR.
Yeah,
and you can all add them also with a single line of code. It's equally easy than the stuff you showed before.
Exactly, similar to what I've shown before. We have multiple tutorials and documentation for all of that that you can read through. So as you can see here, I've populated the same model from ETABS in here as well in our VIKTOR platform with groups color-coded based on these definitions here. It's a really nice check as well for you guys if you want to just verify that you haven't assigned an incorrect group or a section property to a particular member in your structure. And what we do in the next step, we evaluate these groups for the connections that we assigned here. We also have to choose the load combination. Let's do it again for 1.2 G plus 1.5 live and click update. Takes a few seconds for the code to run, but what we should see shortly is the whole building and all those members being designed, not members, but connections for it. It's really easy to identify connections and members.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, where connections have failed. For example, the one that are completely of the chart, or the ones that are close to work, and the ones that are actually passing the design. It's super easy to populate these in a tabular format as well, which is working here on the side. We see all the members being populated here, where we have a demand from our ETABS model and the associated capacity from that connection, and the capacity ratio here on the right-hand side. This is very easy for people to navigate through and identify it, and rerunning these whole models again. Every time there's a new export, you can just run it again.
And I see that you have to select a load combination. So it takes that specific load combination, and then it does the post-processing and show the results.
Yeah, correct. Well, at the moment, this is the way it's been implemented, but we can introduce like envelopes.
Yeah,
we can
add
multi-select. So the options are unlimited. Whatever whatever is the requirement from the users, final users. And at the end, we can also download that as a nice PDF or Word document report, which you can attach then to your whole calculation package. This is report number 20. I've done quite a few of these ones before. So it's opened on the second screen. But as you can see, you can download your whole report with all the information that was previously seen in the VIKTOR application. You can actually see it in here live, and it updates live with the whole tables and everything in here as well. And it's very handy for people when they have to iterate through many different checks as well at the same time. You can, like I said before, you can have all these VIKTOR application chained, so you evaluate all these different checks with a single source of truth.
Yeah, and maybe it's good to add that, for example, there are many software packages that enable you to export a report. This is kind of different. This is a report you make, so it's your own template. It's basically a Word document that you can fully style in the way you want. And using like simple keys to somehow, so you say here, place that information. You can put all the information you want, so the things you see in the app, also some other calculations that maybe you don't show in the app. You can add the graphs, so you can add all kind of stuff, so you can really make a full structural calculation report or some quotation or whatever you want to do of both of them. Yes, it's fully customizable.
Yeah, that's indeed the case, and whatever is required can be put in that report, and it's evaluated from the VIKTOR application as well. And probably we should jump on our last app, which is the ETABS Truss Parameterization.
Not so fast.
Not so fast.
No, because we have several questions about
that.
Let me here pop one. I think that there are a few similar questions, but basically people are asking, how did you generate this 3D model? People are asking, did you use a specific Python library to generate that model? Can you maybe explain a bit about?
Yeah. So the first two apps that we shown, they were purely built from the Excel file. The whole geometry was built from that, because you get node points, you get member reactions, you get member locations. So it's just, as you could see before, a few lines of code, and then you populate the whole structure from there. There's no particular API involved in that. We're going to show an API connection in our third app, where we're going to do the whole round trip back.
What did you use to create the 3D model? Say you extracted the data from Excel, but
correct. But then we used like VIKTOR library to build these shapes here. Yeah, this is VIKTOR geometry view. Yeah,
so in VIKTOR, it works like, basically, if you know Python, VIKTOR works like any Python library. You have all kind of methods you can use, and VIKTOR happens to be a very big Python library, so you have different things. So one of the things you have is to show 3D models, and there you have kind of all basic operations you will find in a CAD software, like extrude, revolve, translate, those kind of operations. Of course, it's not a CAD software, because we don't intend to be a CAD software. It's to show your results. So you can build these models based on data. You can make it fully parametrically. So in the next example, we have a parametric sample. So you can use that model to show your results.
Any other questions?
Oh, yeah. So Timo, thanks Timo for being here. He has a question. How easy is it to convert existing Python templates, for example, for post-processing, into a VIKTOR app? I have a lot of pandas and matplotlib-based templates, and it will be awesome to make an app of them. So
yeah, what's a real good benefit if you convert it into an app is that you can share it with your colleagues, because we have a really nice workspace at VIKTOR, and everyone can within your company can discover these apps, and that's really handy for because we know how painful it is to share the latest and the greatest Excel spreadsheets around, or things like that.
Yeah, and coming back to also the question is how easy it is to transform this into an app. It's super easy. So especially if you have a Python script, then and you have a clear idea in your head about like, okay, this is the input that user should be able to modify, and this is the output. It's as simple as just making a function of the whole Python script and put that in like this basic template, and you're done. You can be done in 5 minutes. We have a tutorial for that actually somewhere, so I will share that tutorial too later in the comments because I have to find it. But it's extremely easy to take a Python script and turn that into an app. Let me give me an extra second, please, because there are a lot of questions.
That's good.
Yeah. So Thomas is saying, yes, you can build with VIKTOR, the 3D model. But yeah, it's a good point. So you can build your own model in VIKTOR with the 3D geometry model, but you can also import your models. So you can import EFC models, for example, with all the data. You can click on that and see the data. You could import other formats that you could use from Grasshopper, for example. So you are able to run a Grasshopper script and then visualize that model also in VIKTOR. So there are different ways you could do this. In this case, it's use the VIKTOR library, but you could also generate the geometry in another way and just show it in VIKTOR. We have many questions, but maybe what we can do is go to the first example, and in that way I win some time to go through the questions and select a few. But yeah, maybe can you explain the third app?
Yeah, so the third app is actually the whole round trip of putting all the information within VIKTOR application and then sending that information to an instance of ETABS that lives on a virtual machine, gets evaluated there, and then the results are sent back into our VIKTOR application. We can potentially go to the next slide as well. So I can just briefly explain what we're going to do here is we define X and Y direction of the bay width. We can define number of joists in this truss system. We can define the truss depth for it as well, and the diagonals within that truss particular. What we're going to see here first, this is recorded video, just because it takes a bit of time that the inputs are sent to a live instance of ETABS, because ETABS is not going to be open on your local machine. And then later on, we're going to show you also like an optimization, which means it's going to iterate through like, I think 24 different iterations.
Yeah.
So that would take quite a while, for example, like 5 to 7 minutes.
We just want to save you the time.
Basically. We want to save you the time, yeah, exactly. And then we can potentially show how, if we can continue the video. Yeah. So in here, we define a few parameters first that get quickly updated on the right-hand side, which is the controller view, which I explained before in our first application. And then obviously all of that is then sent directly to a live instance of ETABS. Is the video running? It got like a little bit.
Yeah.
Now we see that we can just visualize that, and that gets updated in a split of a second. Once we click the next button, we see this structure being populated in an ETABS environment. The results are then received back, and we see the color-coded deflections in this visualization. So we see that the deflections in the middle are typically the biggest.
Yeah, maybe before continuing, because
were there questions?
Yeah, there were a lot of questions about, can you connect directly with ETABS? So the answer is yes, and we just show it.
That's the whole purpose of presenting this third application. Yeah, this is a direct integration with ETABS. So you can also have your ETABS installed locally or virtually on a server. And then when you press calculate, those parameters will be sent to an ETABS license.
Yeah. So, and the benefit of the second method, so let's say you have ETABS in a virtual machine of your company, it means that people that use the app don't need to have ETABS, nor Grasshopper, nor Python, or nothing installed in their computer. They can just use the app through the web interface. And in that way, they don't need to install a thing. But of course, you still need ETABS licenses as a company because you're using your own ETABS licenses. And
then in the second part of this video, what you're going to see here is we're going to run through a number of iterations to target this maximum displacement of 100 mil in the middle of the truss system. So we're going to vary a few parameters. This video has been sped up by a factor of 20x, just to save you some time, like Ananda mentioned just earlier. And then we're going to receive results back in a nice and graphical view. Here we go. So what we can tell here from this graph is that the most optimum design is with a truss depth of 900 and 6 number of joists. This is the most optimum design. We can also vary different parameters such as section sizes or I don't know, other things like I can't even come up with. But this is like one really nice example when you iterate through 24 different combinations and you choose the most optimum one for your solution.
Yeah, and basically there are no limits. So as long as you take the effort to make this parametrically, you can change everything. You can go through. You could also connect this with the connection design app. You could do whatever. And actually, the customer case I will show later also shows like that you can go quite far with this kind of apps and integration. We have a question here from Bijan. So Bijan asks, is it possible to send some selected options from VIKTOR page to an ETABS of SAP model? So basically, if I understand this correctly, can you kind of modify your model through VIKTOR and then run the analysis and get the results back?
Yeah, I don't see why not. You just, whatever your case is built on, depends how you want to target your API. Because with VIKTOR, you can interact with any API call that's available from ETABS or SAP2000. Yeah.
So you could, for example, a typical case is that last minute, you get this email from your geotechnical engineer, and you have to change the foundations, of course, and the spring stiffnesses. This is a typical case where you could also just maybe upload your model, change that in your model, run it, get the results back, show it in your nice visualization, calculate the foundation again, do some optimization. So it's really, you can do whatever you want with it. So thanks for the questions. We're super happy that you're asking a lot of stuff. It's super nice to be able to interact with everyone.
And how are we time, Ananda? I don't know. I was just wondering.
Yeah, we're kind of.
I am done with my apps. There's options are like limitless, like we said before. You can do so much as long as you have ideas and to build it.
So it's true. We have 15 minutes left. And still some stuff to show. So you showed the nice examples that Jannis made. These apps, we told very briefly what VIKTOR is, and I want to dive a bit deeper into VIKTOR. Not too long, just a few minutes, so you have a better feeling about what VIKTOR is. And I said VIKTOR is a way to build user-friendly web applications. You can build this super quickly because we have more than 200 building blocks you can assemble. So for all kind of purposes, to have input information like toggle buttons or drop-down menus of colors, of uploading files, you name it. Also for clicking on geometries. For example, in those apps of Yanis, you could also click on the geometry, and based on clicking on the geometry, you could do stuff and say, okay, I select a few beams, and with those beams, I do something else. And the way of assembling those apps is by using no code. You can drag and drop the interface. But to make more advanced apps, you will need Python. But it's Python on a level that people that know Python in this webinar, you should be able to make an app. It's not Python the level you need to know to work at Google. It's really a Python level that engineers know. And we also have people that didn't know Python actually learned Python through making apps, and they say that it was a super nice experience and it was kind of easy to do. So I will encourage everyone to try this out. And of course, we know that Excel is king in engineering still. So we also have an Excel converter. So if you have an Excel file that you would like to convert to an app, we have a tool for doing that automatically. And then you can also keep building up on that tool with Python, for example, so you can modify that automatically generated app. As said, you can connect your app with different software packages. So today, of course, we show a lot of CSI, so you can do it with ETABS and SAP and all other packages, but you can also connect it to other packages. So for example, you can connect it to Bentley and connect it to Plaxis. So if you're geotechnical engineers working with Plaxis, for example, and you're working with ETABS of SAP, you could kind of integrate your workflows and work in a better way and do like a larger optimization on your workflow. And as said, you don't need to have any software installed in your computer as a user, so as a user of this app. And what we mean with integrate any software is basically any software that has an API of that you can command through the command line through the PowerShell. You can integrate with VIKTOR, but also databases. So if you have some kind of database in your company, you can pull data from the database. If there's an online database of some kind of microservice that's online, you can integrate with basically everything. And something we didn't really show in the app, but it is there, is that the apps have a database. So what we mean with database, so VIKTOR as a platform has a database, and also the apps. So when Yanis changes something and saves this design, it gets stored in VIKTOR. So you can save different designs in a single app, so you don't lose your data, your design data. And at the same time, each design has version control. So if I change something and then Yanis gets into the design 2 days later, he will be able to see that I changed something, what I changed. He can be, he's able to go back to the previous design, and it's all like out of the shelf. You don't need to do anything to get this done. It's just standard built in your VIKTOR apps. So you have the database, and of course, we never work alone. We always have colleagues, BIM, geotechnical engineering, you name it. So for example, you could also have geotech engineers working in a VIKTOR app with the same benefits of working in a VIKTOR app. And at the same time, you have the central database, so you have the single source of truth where you are sure that the project data you're using is the right and most updated data. And you can also connect apps with each other. So you can, for example, if you will have an app to calculate foundations and you have an app to calculate buildings, just to give an example, you could use that logic in that app to design foundations, in your app to design buildings. And in that way, maybe you could do some preliminary foundation design that, of course, your technical engineers should check later, but you could kind of integrate those that knowledge and share that in that way with each other. I just want to show a few of our customers. So there are very large engineering and construction firms in the world. So VIKTOR is used worldwide by the biggest players, but also by medium-sized companies, small companies, and we even have freelancers using the products. We're really a product for everyone. And the reason I'm showing these logos is not to brag about it, but it's because I know that yeah, probably there are people from those companies watching this webinar, and that's good news for you, because if your logo is here, or even if your logo is not here, because we have many customers, so it doesn't fit in a single slide, you can go to our website. So it's VIKTOR.ai, and in the top right corner, you can sign in, create some sign in, and when you do that, you will get to this page and you can enter your company email. So please use your company email. Don't use your Hotmail or your Yahoo or your Gmail, because then it will not work, of course. And then we will send you, if you have an environment, to your company environment. So you will click here and it puts, I don't know, Yandu at acom.com. Then it will bring you to the environment of Acom, and you will get to a login page, which could be a bit different because some clients have single sign-on. Maybe you cannot log in and you have to request access first, and your admin needs to approve. So the situation for each company, it's a bit different, but basically through this login page, you will be able to access a collection of apps that your company made. So these are apps made by your colleagues. And you can also see who made those apps. So if you like to collaborate on a project of use those apps, of improve it, you can reach out to those colleagues. And here in the same environment, you can build your own apps. You will find tutorials, templates, and all kind of other stuff to help you get started. And well, and if your company is not using VIKTOR yet, we have a very generous community edition that enables you to make basically any app, and you can use it for free forever, no string attached. So go there, and you can also create your free account. But VINCI, so this is the customer case I was talking about. VINCI is one of the largest engineering firms in the world, top 10 definitely, and I think inside Europe it's definitely top 3. And they have about 120,000 employees. They have like 70,000 projects on a yearly basis, and 31 billion euros revenue, which is huge. And they made an app also with VIKTOR, and it's a very interesting case. So it's an app to calculate foundations. And yeah, you're all engineers or are working in an engineering company, so you know how the drill is. But you of course have a structural engineer that has some software package. In this case, it's robot, not ETABS, but you could basically replace robot by ETABS in this same flow. This person also had some Python scripts for post-processing to check some reinforcement and other stuff, some regulations. You had a geotechnical engineer that used an Excel sheet to do some verifications for the ground foundation, stability, the length of the piles, that kind of stuff. There's a modeler who created, had a parametric Grasshopper tool to create the 3D model and the drawings. And also the structural engineer had the responsibility to make a full structural report that needed to be sent to the authorities to get the project approved, and also, of course, for internal verification. And yeah, you know how it goes. So everyone has this tool of hair tool, and communication between the different persons and different softwares goes manually via mail, via email, or just standing at the coffee machine, until this guy, Luis, who's a structural engineer at the VINCI, together with a colleague, thought that they could do better than this. So he saw this, they say, hey, look, all designs are different, each situation is different, but we're following the same process. And that's the important thing. You're following my process, although the results and the loads and the designs are always different. And he came with the idea of connecting all of it. And in his search for connecting all these islands and software, he came up, he found VIKTOR. And he made a VIKTOR app. And the VIKTOR app designs crane foundations, and it connects with all those different tools people had in a single tool. And what's nice to mention is that Luis was by no means a software developer. He's a structural engineer. He knew some Python, and he was able to build this amazing app. And yeah, so it's basically, it's good to be aware of that, because I think a lot of people that's watching this webinar could make a similar app. So it's really a big, for me at least, source of inspiration for everyone to see that you can make this kind of apps too. So yeah, how does the app look like? I have here a very short video, so it's a minute video, don't worry. And the app really goes from beginning to end, it does all things. And I skip some steps for speed. But at the beginning, you can define kind of the piles, the length of the piles, and the soil conditions. You basically do the geotechnical check. Then you do the structural analysis. You design the rebar. Once you do that, of course, you need to do some kind of verification. So you do all the unity checks, also the stability of the crane so it doesn't tip. And then it produces automatically all the production drawings people need. And of course, it generates a full structural engineering report with all the load conditions, the models that were used. Yeah, and all done by a structural engineer, which I think it's amazing. So yeah, Alex, who is the colleague of Louis, we were chatting the last time, and he said, yeah, it's really incredible. So before we used it to design those crane foundations in 4 up to 5 days, and now we're able to do this in 15 minutes. So they're able to do this incredibly fast. And because they design, of course, they're a building company, so they design a lot of crane foundations. Yeah, they save thousands of engineering hours a year. So you can see that a single app, only the fact that you connect the stuff you already have, you do the same stuff you do always, just smarter, it has a huge impact for your whole company. And that's the thing I was saying at the beginning. Not so we have people building cells, we have people creating Grasshopper scripts, but with VIKTOR you can really get to the next level and build like a full automating tool that also other people can use. And I think the impact is incredible. So yeah, how can you start? People that are watching this from home or from the office. Yeah, we have different ways to start. And after that, we will go through your questions. So I have not forgotten about your questions. I have them there in the screen, so we will come back to that. Yeah, so again, if you go to the sign-in page, you can go there, fill up your company email, and we will send you to your company environment. If not, you can get a community edition and build apps for free forever. You can even put those apps online and share it with people. And if you want to have like a chat with us, maybe you have some ideas, but you're not really sure if it's feasible or how to approach it in the best way, you can also go to the website, click on book a demo, you will fill a form and we will reach out to you. And it's not that we will give you a demo, but it's the easiest way to just reach out. So fill out a form and please in the notes say, yeah, we watched the webinar of ETABS. I have this problem of this thing I want to solve. And yeah, then you can basically come in contact with this guy, so Yanis, and Yanis can help you. And if not, maybe if it's a problem that an other colleague can help you best, we will find the best person to help you with this project.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to any questions that are going to arise from this webinar and all the ideas that should spark. I think the options and to automate is just like, yeah, endless pretty much. Yeah,
so it's amazing. You can do a lot. So if you have an idea and you're doubting, is it possible or not? The answer is very often yes. So yeah, just give us a call, fill up the form, and we will look at it and look how you can make it happen. So yeah, many people ask like, okay, is it possible to get the recordings? Yes, it is possible to get the recordings. So everyone that registered for this webinar, we will send them one mail containing the recordings, some templates, some tutorials, some other information basically to help you get started. We will send this mail maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Depends about how quick we can set this up. So stay tuned and be watching your email box. Yeah, so that was the presentation at our site. We're over time, so yeah, sorry for that.
Just on time. It's 4 p.m.
Yeah, we're just on time, but at the same time we have a lot of questions. So yeah, at least I don't mind staying a bit more. Yeah, but of course, if you at home want to leave, then yeah, feel free. You can watch this later. But of course, we want to go through the questions before closing the webinar. Yeah, so for example, Mustafa asked, what's the advantage of using VIKTOR instead of using other Python libraries?
Well, with VIKTOR, we can use pretty much any Python library anyway. Yeah. What's the real benefit as well, as you could see, is that integration with third-party software such as ETABS. As like, I haven't seen a product online that's available and it's got a capability of doing it. And also like what's the easiest way to share this Python application is like with an inbuilt system that VIKTOR provides, with a app management system that everyone can just jump in, gets allocated project and all that in a project specific. There's like apps available already for you that you can just jump in and start optimizing and performing your tasks.
Yeah, Mustafa, and I think also the answer is it's not one of the other. It's you can use both, basically, because you can use the complete Python ecosystem. So you can use Panda, Matplotlib, Plotly, whatever, all libraries, also for data science. All libraries are compatible with VIKTOR. And VIKTOR it's a very nice way to make this available to persons that maybe don't use Python, and you get a lot of like extra built-in functionalities like this database version control, which you don't have to really think about. And personally, myself, I've also built apps for myself because I enjoy more clicking through the app than having to change the code and change the files and put that in a folder. So if you have 10 files you have to analyze, it's much easier to just have this button and upload these 10 files and it works. It's also, I enjoy more the experience of using an app than modifying the code all the time and trying to change the file names and that kind of stuff. Okay. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, so a lot of people also asked during the webinar, how do you connect this ETABS app of SAP app with VIKTOR? Maybe we can explain that in a nutshell.
Yeah, we use com types in the background as well.
Yeah.
And PyWin32 library.
Yeah. But yeah, you
similar to examples that are done in the ETABS API documentation. Yeah.
So you basically use the API of ETABS and SAP, and it's an API you can use with Python. So basically, you use Python to control, control ETABS, and we have like a small tool that enables you to connect ETABS, which is of course running locally, with something that's online. So you can connect that through a tool we make available for you, and it's very easy to set up. Yeah, maybe a use case. Mustafa, can we extract the values of the distributed loads, transfer them to the beams for the purpose of further optimization from ETABS using VIKTOR?
Yeah. All the data that's available in ETABS, you can extract it back into your VIKTOR application. So what you can do is anything that you also see in the tables, it's pretty much available through API, and you can do post-processing of that with, if you've got specific checks that you do personally that ETABS can do. For example, you can do so many code compliance checks outside of ETABS. For example, if you've got a shear wall building and you want to check your spandrel rotation, if that's compliant with the code, I don't believe ETABS does that at the moment. So you can, and it's quite a painful exercise. So it's kind of, all those checks can be done outside of ETABS with VIKTOR. Yeah.
Another use case from Timo. Thanks for asking questions, Timo. Is it possible to make tools where you basically upload the models and compare them?
Yeah.
Or maybe also check the models, no? That's also a thing.
That's a very good question, Timo. I like it because it's also one of my ideas. What you can do is, for example, you have different design stages. You have preliminary design stage, you have develop design stage, you have detailed design stage, and you sometimes want to check if you derailed at some point from your design. And what you could do is you could upload multiple ETABS models as a file upload field. Previously, we were uploading an Excel file, but you can upload an ETABS file and then send it to ETABS and then retrieve the results back from multiple files and then compare those results. That's a really good example, that you've raised just now. I like it.
So Bijan is asking, what's the advantage of using VIKTOR instead of Plotly Dash? So for people that don't know Plotly Dash is a product mainly for data science. It's like a dashboarding tool where you can create kind of apps, but my personal feeling, it's more for data science, so like a dashboard. What really sets us apart, I think, is that VIKTOR is engineering specific, and you really see that at the moment that you start building apps. So, for example, the fact that you can show really nice 3D models, interact with those 3D models, those are things that are very hard to do in Plotly Dash. You can also show maps, interact with the maps, generate reports. So there are a lot of functionalities. And also, I think in data science, mostly you kind of have data, process that, I show that in a graph. And what's different in engineering is that you really go more through a flow, not so. You go to a process in steps. And I find, for example, here in this example of Yanis, you see that there you can go really stepwise to the process. So maybe you can go to the previous step in the app. Yeah, so you can really see that you can bring people step to step through the process, and you can also build logic in that. So if you do that, show the next screen, and if you do the other, don't show the next screen. So it's helping people to go through the process, and I think that's very helpful. When you have an engineering process. And of course, also one of the biggest difference, I think, is that you can integrate with engineering software. So engineering software is not something that works online. Mostly it's a desktop stuff, and we provide the means to do that. This is a very good question, Mark. Thanks for asking the question. So are plugins created in Grasshopper using C# can be uploaded in VIKTOR or Python only? The way I understand the question is the different ways of working with plugins in VIKTOR. So let's cover more plugins in VIKTOR as a topic. So at one side, our apps have an API too. So you can use the ETABS API, but you can also use the VIKTOR API. So each app has an API, and the API enables you to both perform calculations that are run in the app, and also retrieve data that's stored in your environment. So if you want to say, okay, what are the loads of this version of the model, you can retrieve the data from that app. Meaning that those plugins that you make in C# or in Python or whatever language you make can also use that API. And we have seen very interesting cases. So it's a bit of a pity I cannot show it because I have to find it. But for example, there are some clients creating Revit. We actually have a Revit plugin example you can download for free. It's open source. You can modify it. And they push and pull data from Revit, and they can also do the calculation. So you have a modeler, and they're building this building, and then they push it to the VIKTOR app. The VIKTOR app runs the ETABS calculation, it does the whole processing, and it basically has the data ready, and then you import that data back to your 3D model, and with that you can adjust your 3D model based on the latest calculation. So that's a very nice application too, using scripts and plugins in that way. And the same holds for Grasshopper too. So you can perfectly make a Grasshopper plugin and push that 3D model to VIKTOR in that way and visualize it. So it's a really nice user case. So thanks for asking. So a lot of people are asking like, hey, tutorials, material, recordings. So again, we will send you a mail with resources tomorrow, hopefully of the day after. So you will have all that information in your mail. And from there, you can get started. And if you cannot wait, you can just go to our website, screen to the documentation. So in our documentation, you will find 2 ETABS tutorials. So one is the first app Jana showed, and you can just start immediately if you want. So that's great. And recording, we'll make that available soon. Look. Yay. He's actually asking, so is there a way to extract information from Revit and export the information in ETABS? Yeah, so we explained that recently. So you can do that through the API. You can also do it through a plugin in Revit, connect with VIKTOR, then run ETABS. It's a very good way. For example, if you have some extra post-processing you want to do, then you want to run that ETABS model, bring it back to VIKTOR, do all the post-processing, and basically return that data back to Revit. So yeah, that's a use case. Yeah, I think due to time, maybe we should stop because we're running, we're extending this quite a lot. But I promise we will answer to all questions on LinkedIn. So we'll come back to you. Yeah, and I have to say thanks a lot, everyone, for being here. It's a real pleasure. Thanks for being so active. Thanks for asking so many questions. It's really motivating.
It's nice to see that people are engaged in that, and it's really nice to see. I must admit too.
Yeah, so again, thanks everyone. And if you want to start, you already know, go to the website, reach out, and we will be happy to help you. Well, and bye-bye. See you next time. And I hope you can make some wonderful VIKTOR apps with ETABS. Bye.